Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Live with Little Data. I'm Edward from Little Data, and I'm joined today with Tom Mucklow from Superco. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you very much for having me, Edward.
So, yeah, we went to a brilliant event you organised yesterday, Grow F&B for food and beverage brands. And I thought it'd be a great topic this week just to really reflect on some of the great insights from those talks. So perhaps tell us a little bit about why you guys decided to start this event, because I think it's the first time you've done it.
Yeah, so I think from our perspective, and we've historically done a lot of work in and around like consumable goods. F&B was one we kind of did a lot of work in initially. Not always the most obvious like DTC play for brands. Like it's very hard, obviously, to ship heavy cans of flavored water profitably. Right. But it's kind of an area we've done quite a lot of work in. And I think we just kind of felt a lot of conferences are very like generalist e-commerce, like e-com expo. There's no real like focus. You get everyone from some bloke wanting to like start a brand selling belts through to like some of the largest retailers in the country. So we just try and put together like some content that is relevant to anyone in the F&B space who wants to learn more about digital, but also like we did a panel on fundraising, did a panel on content creation, did a panel on like offline, online, like how your kind of brand can be perceived across both channels. So yeah, just trying to provide value in like a vertical specific way. And we're going to be doing other ones of these. So like I've announced this morning, we're going to do like a beauty wellness one in March, but that will probably be it. I think two decent sized conferences a year is a lot. I didn't quite realize how much work it would go into doing the first one.
You can basically become effectively an events company rather than an agency.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen a few agencies basically become events companies. I can totally see why. It's quite all consuming.
But I definitely, I think that the theory worked. For me, the content was a lot more like interesting and deep and relevant. As you say, the sort of panel discussions you have at these big generalist e-com events are very like, well, it depends, because obviously it depends what kind of sector and stage you're at. Obviously, there were a range of brands at different stages, but at least they all had the commonality of selling into a similar.
Yeah, you can still have the it depends conversation there, but they're all selling like F&B. So like it depends is just a lot more relevant to whether you're selling like shipping containers or belts, like you might get at like e-com expo. So like everyone's typically selling a drink or a food there. So it was you can kind of get a little bit more into the weeds and the kind of specificities of like their individual prices, like pain points.
So the first brand you had on stage was a brand called Perfect Ted, who've quite a new brand, but they've done very well with the funding from Dragon's Den, Stephen Bartlett, and grown hugely over 3 years. What was the sort of main insight you got from their story?
I mean, they're a funny one. I'm kind of glad we started with them because actually, funnily enough, they were our first customer pretty much back in the day when we started. They were like not clueless. I mean, they've got a background in, I guess to this point, they've got a background in like VC, real estate. Like none of them had ever done an F&B brand before. And I think I remember when I'm meeting them being like, this sounds mad, but sure matches. I think people like are like on the periphery trying, and I can see that it growing. But I think Levi's big kind of one of his big reasons for their success is the fact that they do kind of approach everything from a first principles perspective, because they know no different, because they have come from like totally alien worlds. Like we did a talk in the afternoon, obviously, with the guy who'd kind of come up through through Innocent and yada, like 20 years in F&B, like obviously trying different things, but he had a playbook to play from, whereas the Perfect Ted guys were kind of making it up as they went, and they weren't like constrained or hamstrung by like kind of, I don't know, like what has been expected to work for other F&B brands. They were just trying things. And I think one of the things I called out there, which obviously I think they've had a huge amount of success. He wasn't really able to attribute the amount of success from it, but it's something that they play very hard in, is building openly. Or building in public on LinkedIn, which obviously is not a natural place for an F&B brand to do it. So like, I kind of
I posted about this yesterday. I think that contrarian approach, so many people I met yesterday are so dependent on Meta, whether it's for ads or influencers, and the fact they're just going, no, we don't do any of that. We simply just build our brand openly on LinkedIn and rely on this sort of huge. We basically don't market our Shopify site at all. We just rely on all the organic brand marketing to actually drive those sales.
I mean, I can't remember what he said the impressions were, but him and his brother and like a few of the team post religiously every
Yeah,
single day, and like it
yeah,
was like hundreds of thousands of impressions, like for free every week.
and I found the same thing. I've been focused on LinkedIn now for just over a year, and it just builds month on month, and I'm really. Yeah, but as you say, it's unusual.
It's
For
unusual.
a SaaS brand, that's quite common now. But for a food and bev brand, very unusual.
Yeah, it was. I particularly, I mean, obviously we post about e-com stuff all day. Like, it can be a little dry. They're posting like they've dyed their hair matcha green, and like they're
Yeah,
chasing Joe and the Juice through Soho. It's kind of
yeah,
interesting content. It stands out.
yeah. They're good at that. And then really interesting panel discussion on the age-old topic of Amazon. Like, should you or shouldn't you? I mean, one of the things that stood out to me, start from that, was the fact that Amazon's in this country. Honestly, most people don't buy food and drink through Amazon. I mean, maybe if you're stocking up on cans or bulk orders, but but they were saying in the US, actually, food and bev is a much bigger category on Amazon, and therefore you might expect it to become more important as a distribution channel here.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was really interesting. It's not a world like I know that
No,
much. Obviously,
neither me. No.
I didn't see, but like I thought it would be really good to have a panel on that, because obviously, like it is really important for F&B brands as a channel. So you had some like really good speakers actually. Imogen, I thought, was fantastic. She's a kind of a
Yeah.
consultant for F&B on Amazon. She had some really interesting kind of points. One of which was the fact that like a lot of brands are like, yeah, no, we're not gonna like touch Amazon. We just ignore it. And she's like, you can't ignore it. It's the like £1,000 gorilla in the room, or whatever the phrase is. Like, it's there. You have to have a strategy of like not being like on Amazon, which is totally fine. Like, you don't have to be on it, but like not being on it is in of itself a strategy.
Yeah, and she proved her point really well by saying, she said, hands up who doesn't shop on Amazon, and that's just one person in the audience. We've all got Amazon Prime on our phones. Like, it is a default channel for a lot of product categories.
And you need to like, if you're not on it, that's fine, but that is a choice. And like her and Nick from Assembly Volcano Coffee had it got a little spicy. It's just what you want when you're moderating a panel, like a little kind of frisson of like, maybe there's going to be an argument here. But he was very anti Amazon. Like, he's a very premium coffee brand, very much like, this is not a place we want to play on. Yeah, that was a good one.
I also kind of think it depends on category, doesn't it? Because his point about coffee was right, that it's such a specialty coffee is such a misnomer. Like, I mean, it covers so many things. And honestly,
but what is specialty coffee?
Yeah.
He was he was adamant like grind isn't specialty coffee.
Yeah.
That's like for 99% of the population, grind is very much specialty coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you're like super premium, yeah, sure, you look down on like something like grind. So yeah, it's not specialty, but
so I think with that sort of category, if you can never win the category, and so Amazon's always going to be challenging. I think if you have a much more unique, I mean, I talked to another guy at the event who has a line of kombucha drinks, and for him, winning the category is a viable thing. Like, he's number 15, and as he showed me, all of the other brands above him are like massively well-funded, venture-backed brands. So it's but the other point Imogen made, which is a good one, is not doing Amazon is an Amazon strategy. Like, you can't ignore it, but you have to decide to what extent you're going to focus on it. It's obviously like a whole different game to like Shopify D2C.
I thought John's point, John McManus from Balloon Brands, had a really interesting point about like using Amazon as just like a sampling technique. Like, historically, you'd have to go into your Waitrose and like cut up your cheese and put it on a tray and ask people, like, try it, do you like it, etc. Whereas like now on Amazon, you can kind of sell things like at cost or at a loss, and you're getting reviews, you're getting people trying the product, and it's a very easy way to distribute to the whole country.
Is that particularly fulfilled by Amazon? No need to have any logistics. All you literally need to do is have the stock available, and then it doesn't. And also that seems the thing. I guess a lot of people get obsessed about gross margin and stuff, but I mean, you're always going to do your volume through in this category through kind of wholesale or into the supermarkets. And so, does it matter what your profitability is on D2C if it's a way of just? I mean, obviously, you don't want losing lots of money, but the point is it a profit driver for you? Probably not.
No, I think it's just an easy way for you to get in front, get your kind of your brand, your favorite, like your biggest brand fans, and get an easy channel for them to buy, maybe a way for them to buy like special editions or like member only kind of products, like just kind of rewarding that top 5%, 2% of your customers.
But bulk as well, I think was the other point. Obviously people, maybe they've found your product in the supermarket, but now they're like, okay, well, actually, I want to buy like 3 months supply, so now I'll go on Amazon.
Well, that's it. I mean, like Dash, we had Dash on the subscription panel. That's one of the few things I'm subscribed to, is just like to Dash water. But it's like that kind of product is really hard to do unless you do it in bulk. But if you can do it in bulk, people do just buy it. Like it's they know they're shipping that out.
You could have a couple of Dash waters a day, and so you could feasibly order, 100 pack or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting through tons of them.
Yes, so that's really interesting. So having an Amazon strategy, thinking about it, and maybe I guess the other thing I feel a lot about that is brands not feeling like they have to do everything. Like we often have this chat, because obviously again, like yourselves, we're really dealing with people who are choosing to do Shopify D2C. I mean, that's the essence of why we're interacting with them. But obviously a lot of these brands are also toying with Amazon. I also think that's the problem though, is toying. Like, are you going to win by toying with it, or do you actually need to say, do you know what, we know the Shopify direct marketing space, we kind of familiar with that, we've got good reach to market, that's what we're going to do? Or, as I said, like this other competitor brand I talked to, that's a world I don't know. I don't know how to put together my own website and my own marketing, campaigns and stuff, so let's do Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, I know Imogen, she's an Amazon consultant, but was very like forceful about the fact that if you're going to do Amazon, if that is your strategy of some description, you need to like commit to it. It can't just be like the bit on the side. You need to like make your brand page look great. You need to like make sure you've got your keywords and things all set up. Because like half-assing it, you might as well just not do it. It's like, So
there was then a good panel about subscriptions. Now, Recharge was a sponsor, and I know we both work closely with them. But I guess first of all, I think subscriptions do work well for a lot of, it's one of their strongest categories, I would say, because obviously, as I'll point about Dashwater, like, if it's something you actually consume every day, you can justify a kind of monthly supply. But I guess the one of the points made though was that it's about when you push the subscription. Like, pushing a subscription to a new customer is kind of usually not a great sell, versus using it as a way of retaining people who are already ordering frequently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very, very fair. I mean, I think we're kind of talking briefly before about, like, we've got a customer who's just losing money hand over fist. People just signing up for a subscription, they have a very cheap subscription like initial offer, and people just cancel after the first month. They're just bargain basement buyers, and they're paying 30 quid to acquire a consumer, and they're like earning 25 quid on the first purchase. So they're just losing money hand over fist. And like, no, you need to stop this.
I mean, one of the points I've talked about a lot over the years is how complex it is also to do trees of cost of acquisition for a subscription customer, exactly because they're not going to break even the first thing. You've got to have quite good analytics allow you to actually understand the lifetime value and therefore the CAC over a number of different purchases. And so I guess what I would say obviously we know lots of subscription brands that get that right and are confident that they will have a lifetime of more than 4 months, and therefore they can spend X acquiring the first. They can lose money on the first two, maybe, but I think that's complex. And I guess at a small brand, the question you've got to ask yourselves is it worth that complexity versus just focusing on the unit economics?
And it's also, if you are relying on like the 3+ month like payback cycle for the customer, you're taking on extra investment. You're probably giving away more equity. Like that is a big step for a lot of brands. Whereas if you can maybe convince someone to buy a bundle and improve their AOV, then you're not necessarily you can be profitable on first purchase. You're not necessarily needing to go back into market to get investment.
Yeah. And Ben Homo from Shopify made a great point about the fact that one of the brands they'd worked with, they'd sort of personalized the homepage, so where they could identify people who had previously purchased, they could basically push the subscription as the main call to action on the page. Like, say, right, now these, but actually if you came on there and you'd not previously purchased, they couldn't identify you as such, then the subscription offer was there, but very much down the page, only if you search for it. So I think that's quite interesting that you can just flip the offer. For the first time customer, the main thing you're trying to do is get them to just buy the one thing, just try it out. and then obviously returning customer. Main thing to do is get them to commit to a regular order.
Yeah.
And then you went on to have another panel about loyalty, but then I guess this is where it all. And in fact, if you look at the different vendors now in the market, with people like Yotpo and Recharge and stuff going into loyalty, I think it's clear that there's quite a blurred line now between, obviously, you're all trying to increase retention and customer lifetime value, but there are ways you can do that without actually committing to a regular purchase. You can incentivize loyalty without actually signing someone up for a monthly payment.
100%. It's funny, isn't it? I feel like a lot of apps are just slowly like encroaching on each other's territories.
Yeah.
Each creating like super apps, just kind of becomes a bit of an amorphous blob of app. But yeah, it's the loyalty panel is always interesting. I mean, we often find like brands just like plug in loyalty and hope that it works. Just install Yotpo or Smile or whatever, but like, yeah, sure, great points, birthday points or whatever it is, and it never works. It's only the brands that really like commit to investing, commit to speaking to their customers to find out like what actually are the levers that people care about. Like giving people 5 points for their birthday means absolutely nothing. It's just like racking up, people never use them. But rewarding like kind of proper like incentivizing kind of great behavior for those top echelons of customers, giving them access to like new product to taste, whatever it is. That's where you get the loyalty, and it doesn't necessarily need to be points based. It could just be cashback. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But
discount or as you say, access to new products. Often your super buyers actually, that they feel like they're in the club if they're getting access to.
It's the in the club, and like putting a name on it and offering points is like a fake club. Like it has to actually be a value add. And it has to feel exclusive. Like if anyone can join it, like it's not really exclusive.
Yeah. Cool. And then final point, I guess, discussed with just I know there were lots of other great content, but I guess I was particularly piqued about the funding discussion at the end. Obviously, something I've personally spent quite a lot of the last year thinking about. Admittedly, as a SaaS founder rather than as a brand, but. I guess fundamentally confirming that it's a tough market out there, but there are, obviously there are brands getting funded. I mean that, still people still need to eat and drink is maybe the overriding thing.
Yeah, well, I think that was Adam Levine's point. It was I think he's built and sold 2 very successful tech businesses. The last one, Klarna. His point was, he's now an F&B investor, and he's like, AI is eating the world, but it's not going to eat food and bev, or at least like it's not going to. People are still going to want to eat and drink. Like, sure, it might impact some of the kind of the stuff around it, but he doesn't want to put his money into technology right now because he just doesn't know which way things are moving.
Well, that's right. I think AI is very much disrupting a lot of tech business models, whether it's advertising or SaaS or any other sort of tech services. But as you say, probably. I mean, there was quite an interesting debate we skipped over, but on AI creating content, but that stuff is definitely being impacted. But the actual mechanics of needing to order stuff to eat and drink, I think that's
Well, do you see the panel we had on AI content creation? It's something
I did see that.
It's moving. It's like that we're seeing like more and more of an uptick on it. Yeah, it's funny just how it impacted our industry is going to be. I mean, I always look at like Shopify's new AI tools, being like, is that just going to like put agencies out of business? Years,
what's the fascinating thing with AI, without getting too sidetracked, is to what extent it favors the incumbents versus new entrants. Like I think the thing I see, and this is, I know The Economist had an article on it, is that actually it's one of those technology disruptions that actually are going to be more disrupted for the startups than the established companies. Like, as you say, the people who are going to AI on Shopify, are Shopify, not some other app, or the people who are going to AI on Klaviyo are Klaviyo, not a.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They've got all the data. They've got all the customers. Like it's just like digging their moat deeper or building their wall higher.
I think that's how it pans out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there was one other topic which I've again talked about a lot, which is profitability. So I do think there was a model a couple of years ago for a lot of brands, not necessarily just food and bev, where it doesn't, as long as they could see that the sort of unit economics were solid, it didn't really matter if you're profitable in the first or seed Series A round. So you were going to get that growth at all costs. And I think confirmation from all the investors on stage that is truly over, and even at an early stage, even at angel funding round, they want to actually see profitability. They need to see that you've grafted and know how to run a lean and aggressive kind of sales and marketing operation without just spending a load of ad dollars. And it's hard. It's really hard because obviously what everyone's telling us is CAC is going up. They're particularly channels like Meta, they're just increasingly expensive to acquire customers. So yeah, to be profitable, I guess going back to the first point, with Levi, you've got to be creative. You've got to find different routes out there.
Or just get a celebrity to back your brand.
All that. Or go on Dragon's Den and get lucky. Yeah.
All that,
yeah. Well, thank you very much for chatting today, Tom. That's been
Pleasure.
a really interesting recap. And as I said, I do hope you run more of those, and I generally would love to see more industry vertical events. So if you're a brand listening and you missed out, and do listen in for more of these, because they do happen, and I think that's where you're going to get listening to people who've been there and done it for your specific industry is always the most valuable kind of advice.
No, thank you. Yeah, well, there'll be beauty/wellness one coming in March 2025.
Great, we'll be there.